Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. All praises are Allah's, Lord of the worlds. And may His peace and blessings be upon our Master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and his pure immaculate Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I was thinking what to speak about, being the last night with you, brothers and sisters. And I thought to speak a few words on unity between the Islamic Brotherhood and Sisterhood. That which keeps the unity of a building together is the iron scaffolding, the bricks, and so on and so forth. But that which keeps the unity within the Islamic Ummah between the brothers and sisters are the hearts. The building blocks of the Islamic unity is the heart, everyone's hearts of all brothers and sisters. The heart, according to us, is the place, is the locus wherein Allah's attributes are manifested and reflected. And it's only when the hearts succeed to manifest and reflect these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will the connection between them increase and Islamic unity will prosper. I'm going to recite only one tradition tonight. Before I do though, just one last point. This heart, this container, can't share both egoism and divinity. It can't have both. It either succeeds in manifesting Allah's attributes or it fails. And by failure here, we mean egoism predominates over it. In this tradition I want to recite, inshallah, tonight, there's 30 instructions from the Holy Prophet of Islam. And you can judge yourself how strong your heart is by comparing your heart with these instructions. How well you succeed in executing these 30 instructions, which are vital for Islamic unity. Where you fail, it's indicative that the ego has predominated. You may fail in some areas, you may pass in others. But I'll go through them one by one, and then I'll end with a story, and I'll stop there. Imam Ali, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, narrated that the Holy Prophet Muhammad once said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. للمسلم على أخي 30 حقا. Each Muslim, brother or sister, possesses 30 rights over his or her brothers or sisters. I have the right to receive 30 rights from each of you. This brother has the right to receive 30 rights from all of us, and so on and so forth. We all have this right to receive 30 rights from our brothers and sisters. لا براءة له منها إلا بأدائها أو العفو عنها. And will never be exempted from these rights. We'll never be exempted because we all have to give these rights to our brothers and sisters. We'll only be exempted إلا بأدائها, only if we accomplish these rights to our brothers and sisters, these 30 rights. Or we're pardoned by them. We didn't execute them, but we were forgiven. I'll go through the 30 instructions now. يغفر زلته. One forgives his shortcomings. They speak with you in a bad way. They do something wrong. You forgive. Allah is Ghaffar. We have to manifest this attribute of Allah within ourselves. They were ignorant. They did something wrong. We don't want to retaliate with them. It's their right that we should forgive them. You invite people regularly, but they don't invite you. Okay, they haven't repaid you, but you forgive them. You don't say, oh, why hasn't he invited me? Why hasn't she invited me? I did that, why didn't they do that? You act according to Allah's rulings. You act for Allah's sake, out of love of Allah, not to receive anything from them. We all have these shortcomings. We're all guilty of them. The key is we have to forgive. If this manifestation or if this attribute is manifested properly within us, that's one step forward for that Islamic Brotherhood or Sisterhood. وَيَرْحُمُ إِبْرَتَهُ, to have mercy over their sorrow, to share in their grief, not to be inconsiderate with their sorrows. You have to show empathy towards them. You have to have sympathy towards your brothers and sisters. If they're sorrowful, you have to approach them. It has to be shared. If we want to be manifestations of Allah's compassion, this is the way forward. This is vital for Islamic unity. وَيَسْتُرُ أَوْرَتَهُ, to cover their faults. Allah is Satarul Uyub, He covers our faults. We have to cover our brothers' faults, our sisters' faults. Not to disclose their faults to others. Because we also commit many faults during our lives. This disclosing other people's faults is a sign of the ego. Because we have as much faults as they do. We have to try to manifest this attribute of satar within ourselves. Just think if we keep on covering our brothers' faults, our sisters' faults, what this would do for Islamic Brotherhood. وَيُقِيلُ أَثْرَتَهُ, to oversee their errors. Give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes. Okay, they've sinned. You may sin. They didn't reply to your salon, for example. Give the benefit of the doubt. Oversee these errors. Don't focus on them. Don't continue with it. Let go. You lent someone some money, they didn't pay you back. Okay, forgive them. Oversee it. It's okay. We have a tradition that if you lend some money to someone, and they haven't returned it within, I think, 3 or 6 months, forgive them. And Allah will give you 30 times that much in this world. However, if they want to borrow second time round, you have to refrain. A Muslim is kayyis, is sharp. A Muslim shouldn't get bitten twice from the same mistake. But the first time, forgive, especially if it's a small amount. Oversee their errors. وَيَقْبُلُ مَعْذَرَتَهُ, accept their apology. It takes a lot to apologize to people. Don't ruin their dignity. When they come and apologize, accept it immediately. It's very difficult for someone to apologize. And when they apologize, get it over with quickly and say, no, astaghfirullah. I was never disappointed with you in the first place. You should apologize, not to me. I apologize. We have traditions where even if you have yaqeen that the person isn't genuine in relation to his apology, still forgive. وَيَرُدُّ غَيْبَتَهُ. Defend them when they're backbited. I think my dear brother Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin, Ahmad Mudaris, covered a few very delicate points in his speech on backbiting. If people are being backbited, you have to defend them. Either get out of the room or defend them straight away. وَيُدِيمُ نَصِيحَتَهُ. Frequently provide advice and counsel to them. That's their right. That's your brother's right, your sister's right. This process of advice has to continue, but do it in the best possible way. Sometimes some people give advice out of their ego. They advise in such a manner as if, you owe them something. You have to do it with humility when you give advice. Do it in the best possible way. وَيَحْفَظُ خَلَّتَهُ. Strive in preserving the links of friendship between brothers and sisters. This is crucial. The links of friendship have to be preserved. It's unfortunate, but today we see that followers of different marages are breaking links of friendship with other followers of the marages. This is an illness. It's an infection which is contaminating the ummah. It's only the ego which makes you feel at ease when you criticize a marja, when you criticize their fatwas, their beliefs in aqa'id, in history. All marjas, you have to presume they're good. You have to respect them. You have to respect their followers. They've reached their findings with years and years of research. Their findings in fiqh, in history, you may not accept them, but you have to respect it. Whether the marjas from Iran, Lebanon, Iraq, elsewhere. This is the ego which is playing around. It's the ego which makes people think that they have the right to criticize any marja they want and then criticize the followers. And then the links of friendship breaks between the followers of different marajah. It's a disgrace. It's the ego. If we can't attain to Shia unity, there's no hope to have unity with the Sunni brothers and sisters. This has to stop. Yes, please try to eliminate these traces of ego which make you comfortable in criticizing the marajah and make you at ease in breaking relationships with the followers of the marajah. All of you should be together, irrespective of your denomination and irrespective of who you follow. You all have to have programs together, be friends with one another. Or even if you're followers of different political parties, in Iran, in Iraq, it's the ego which makes you separate from one another. It's the ego which makes you keep on arguing and which breaks the relationship. Put these aside. Don't do things which provoke followers of other political parties. There's no need. There's no need to wear specific things, specific shirts, clothing, which will provoke the other side. Kill the ego. Be friends with all of them. This is where ego predominates over Allah's attributes. وَيُرْعَى ذِمَّتَهُ. Observe other people's rights over you. Make a list of all the people that you owe something to them, be it capital, be it other than capital. Make sure you observe this and that you pay them back. وَيَعُودُهُ مَرَضَهُ. Visit them during illness. When your brother, your sister becomes ill, visit them. Sometimes when two Muslims have broken ties of friendship, this is the best time to patch up things. Visit them when they're ill. وَيَشْهَدُ مَيِّتَهُ. Attend his funeral. Go to his funeral. If he did any wrong to you, forgive him at the funeral. Don't let him enter Hades. Don't let him enter Barzakh in an unfortunate state. Go to the funeral. Forgive him if he did any wrong against you. Because you're going to die eventually too. And forgive and you'll be forgiven. It can't be anything but the ego which prevents you to forgive someone who's just passed away. The world is too short. Don't pollute yourself with such a behavior. وَيُجِيبُ دَعْوَتَهُ. Accept your brother's invitation when he invites you. Don't say, I'm of a higher socio-economic class, I'm a doctor, he's only a baker. I'm this, he's that. No. This is the ego talking again. This is a spiritual illness. Whenever someone invites you, accept, go, whatever denomination they belong to. Bring yourself lower. Don't think that you're anything. وَيَقْبُلُ هَدِيَتَهُ. Accept his gift. When they give you a gift, accept it. This is also manifesting one of Allah's attributes. When we give so little ibadat to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah always accepts our insignificant ibadat. We too have to accept any gift, however small it is, from our brothers and sisters. Not accepting may lead one to acquire these animalistic tendencies. لا يرد الإحسان إلا حمار. Only donkeys deny presents, negate presents, negate gifts. Whoever gives you something, accept it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts what we offer to him, who are we? وَيَكَافَ صِلَتَهُ. Compensate for his kindness. This should be the minimum. The ideal is to even compensate for any vice he's done to you. We have a tradition by Imam Sadiq where he lists the noble ethical traits. Al-afwa amman dhalamak. Forgiving those who oppress you. وَالصِّلَةُ مَنْ قَطَعَكَ. Maintaining family relations with those family members who have broken ties with you. وَإِعْطَاءُ مَنْ حَرَمَكَ. Donating to those who've suppressed you. وَقَوْلُ الْحَقِّ وَلَوْ عَلَى نَفْسِكَ. And speaking the truth even if it means going against yourself. This is what Islam's about. Islam doesn't have any room for you to act arrogantly, not to forgive. Its essence is based on compassion. وَيَشْكُرُ نِعْمَتَهُ. Thank him for the good deeds He's done to you. It's a rational thing. You don't need to be a Muslim. All the things I've mentioned, you don't need to be a Muslim here. These are all dictates of the fitrah, of one's rationality. وَيَحْسُنُ نُصْرَتَهُ, assist him in the best possible manner. Care for his salvation, for his future. Manifest the attribute Nasir within your hearts. وَيَحْفَظُ حَلِيلَتَهُ, act as a hafiz here. You're manifesting the attribute hafiz within your hearts now. Whenever you're asked to look after their family, preserve them, look after them. If your brother asks, can you just look after my family whilst I go abroad? Act as a hafiz. وَيَقْضَى حَاجَتَهُ, solve their needs. وَيَسْتَنْجِهُ مَسْأَلَتَهُ, reply to their requests. With the first, solving their needs, the brother or sister won't come to you and say, can you help me out? You have to ascertain this need and then act according to it. This is something very difficult but very noble. For you to find who is needy and then help them out. But replying to our brothers or sisters' requests, they ask you. When they ask you, do your best to comply and act in relation to their needs. It took a lot of courage for them to come and ask you for help. Don't let their dignity be compromised by rejecting them. If you can't help them in your entirety, at least help them to some degree. But don't leave them empty-handed. وَيَسْمُتُ أَتْسَتَهُ, say God bless you when they sneeze. يَرْحَمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. وَيَرْشُدُ ضَالَتَهُ, if they've lost something or someone, provide guidance for them. Help them out. وَيَرُدُّ سَلَامَهُ, reply to their salams. وَيُطِيبُ كَلَامَهُ, speak gently with them. Again, the dear brother spoke about this. How important it is to speak gently with your brothers and sisters. Starts from the family, friends, neighbors. It's very important, even for Islamic unity. وَيَبُرُّ إِنْعَامَهُ, benefit them with your benevolence. وَيُصَدِّقُ أَقْسَامَهُ, confirm their oaths, presume they're saying the truth when they swear on oath. Give them that dignity. When they say something, presume they're saying the truth. وَيُوَالِي وَلِيَّهُ وَلَا يُعَادِي, be friends with their friends. Don't have any enmity with their friends. Show them respect with the friends they've chosen for themselves. They have dignity. They've chosen people as their friends. You too. Preserve that dignity. Give them respect and be friends with their friends. Don't show any enmity with their friends. It may go against their dignity, Allah forbid. وَيَنْصُرُهُ ظَالِمًا وَمَظْلُومًا, help them, whether they're an oppressor or whether they're oppressed. فَأَمَّا نُصْرَتُهُ ظَالِمًا, helping them when they're an oppressor, فَيَرُدُّهُ عَنْ ظُلْمِهِ, try to distance them from this oppression in the best possible way. Look, this attribute of Nasir or Nasir, has to be manifested within you, even with respect to your brothers who are oppressors. You shouldn't break links of friendship. It has to be maintained, preserved. Then slowly you have to try to distance them from this oppression. Don't break your relationship with them. وَأَمَّا نُصْرَتَهُ مَظْلُومًا, but helping them when they're oppressed, فَيُعَيِّنُهُ عَلَى أَخْذِ حَقِّهِ. That involves helping them when they're oppressed, involves helping them to get their rights back. You have to help them out so they get what they deserve, what's their right. وَلَا يُسَلِّمُهُ, never make them surrender to their enemy. Preserve their dignity. Help them out. It's very lowly and a wretched state for a Muslim to surrender to a Muslim's enemy. Don't let this happen. وَلَا يَخْذُلُهُ, don't humiliate them. Don't debase them. Preserve their dignity. See, all this is based on their dignity. The dignity of Muslims is even more significant than the sanctity of the Kaaba. And finally, وَيَجِبُ لَهُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ مَا يَجِبُ لِنَفْسِهِ وَيَكْرُهُ لَهُ مَا يَكْرُهُ لِنَفْسِهِ. Desire for them that which you desire for yourselves. Dislike for them that which you dislike for yourselves. The golden rule. If one succeeds via the Sharia to eliminate all traces of ego, these 30 will be easy to accomplish. If with some of them you feel this is very difficult, or if you're failing, that's just showing that the ego is predominating in those areas. And I'll end with one story. I think I related this story last time. During the Iran-Iraq war, naturally the Iraqis had taken many Iranians as captives, and the Iranians had taken many Iraqis as captives. And in both prisons there were tortures, which is very unfortunate. But it occurred on both camps. One of the Iranians that were captured was called Sayyid Abu Turabi. And he was captured by the Iraqis. And he was tortured too. The people in his camp, the Iranians who were there, they were also tortured on a regular basis by the army generals. One day the Red Cross organization came to monitor the torturing, because torturing goes against the United Nations charter, thank you, apparently. Now, how successful they are, I'm not sure, but anyway, Red Cross, they were assigned to make sure that torture doesn't occur in the camps, both in Iran and in Iraq. So they went to Iraq and they said, okay, let's look at the camps one by one. They came to the camp where Abu Turabi was residing, and they said, who's the head of this camp? Each camp was assigned a head amongst the prisoners there. Abu Turabi said, I'm the leader of this camp. The Red Cross member said, has there been any torture? And there had been a lot of torture. Abu Turabi said, no. Alhamdulillah, there's been no torture. Then the Red Cross member just turned around, saw the Iraqi general was there, and asked the general to leave the camp so he can be more frank with the prisoners. So the Iraqi brother left, and he asked the Abu Turabi again, has there been any torture? You can tell me. It's my duty to know and report this to United Nations. Abu Turabi said, no, Alhamdulillah, there's been no torture. He said, are you sure? Yes. Yes. Now the Iraqi general was very agitated because he thought everything was going to be disclosed. Anyway, the Red Cross member came out and said, no, there's been no torture here, let's go to the next camp. And the Iraqi general was very surprised. Anyway, once the Iraqi general came to the camp of Abu Turabi, and this is the main point here, and said, why did you not disclose the tortures, the punishments that we've given? Why didn't you say anything? And then Sayyid Abu Turabi said, you're a Muslim. He's a non-Muslim. Your dignity has to be preserved. وصلى الله على محمد وآله